Welcome back. We just left the theaters after seeing The Beekeeper, which is the brand new movie starring Jason Statham. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it, Thomas?
So essentially, the overview of the movie is that Jason has a neighbor who he's really happy about because she takes care of him. She ends up being tricked into getting all of her money taken by a cybersecurity but scam. And in the interim, she ends up taking her own life because it's a lot of money and part of it's for a charity. And so Jason ends up going on a wild, crazy goose chase of trying to figure out who it is at first, and then escalating to just killing them all and weeding them out of society. And it's amazing.
So yeah, I mean, this movie, like I said, just came out. It's not just Jason Statham, though. I feel like we should also mention some of the other cast. We have Felicia Rashad, which a lot of people know as Mrs. Cosby from The Cosby Show. You have Josh Hutcherson, which a lot of people know from The Hunger Games. You have Minnie Driver does like a small part, and then you have I feel like iconic Jeremy Irons. Because if you don't know who he is, then I don't know what's wrong with you.
Well, I mean, he's Scar for crying out loud.
Yeah, this is true.
So,
But that's just one of the roles. Like I feel like he's like I said.
yeah, he was a
Like,
villain in Die Hard 3. I
yeah,
can't remember the character's name. I mean, he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's a phenomenal actor.
yeah. He's actually the only I feel weird saying this. He's the only old guy that I've seen a movie and kind of like had a little mini crush on, and that was
Oh
Die
yeah.
Hard. Yeah. I mean,
Honestly though,
obviously I don't have the crush anymore, but yeah.
well, that's good. I mean, realistically though, it doesn't look like he's aged at all since Die Hard to now. Like,
No,
if
he
you,
has.
well, obviously, but
Yeah.
he doesn't look like it though.
No,
Like he just,
yeah. He looked better. Obviously in
oh
Die
yeah.
Hard, he was younger.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously.
Yeah,
Anyway, we went off on a tangent there.
that's okay.
So I thought this movie was fantastic. I mean, uh, what's to say? Blood, guts, action, explosions, no holds
Bang bang,
bar
shoot him up.
thrill, bang bang, shoot 'em up. Yeah, I knew going into this movie that it was going to be pretty much very limited plot, and just think John Wick meets human. Because that's pretty much what you can do. You can replace puppy for a human, and you're good to go. I mean, that's there's a little bit of moralistic compass in this movie. We can go over a little bit more later, but for now, I feel like that's a great place to segue. So, what did you think?
I mean, yes, it is a action adventure, the typical, bang bang, lots of explosion, lots of guns, lots of violence kind of thing. But I don't know if I'd like compare be like, oh, it's like John Wick with like that's not how I would explain it. It is that, but it's the stereotypical action adventure movie with a modern twist, because like the whole like internet scamming, unfortunately that's a newer thing. I mean, obviously people didn't have that in like the 90s, as much. I mean, I did like it. Do I, it's still action adventure is still kind of like a guy movie feel like to me. So I mean, like I'll watch them, but I have to admit, like there was times where, like, this sounds kind of funny, but like we got popcorn and soda, and the soda, of course, like ran out kind of quickly. I feel like you were a little thirsty. And normally, like, I'll get up and like go get the refill. I don't want to go up and get the refill because I was like, I'm gonna miss some kind of like action sequence.
Yeah.
Wasn't worried about missing like dialogue. I was
Yeah.
just like, I want to see how Jason Statham, which his character is Adam Clay. I want to see how Adam Clay is gonna kick these guys' butt. So yeah, typical action adventure, violent type movie, but with an up to date twist.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely more modern, but it's still the same story. Hero has
The whole
feelings
white
for
knight,
something.
yeah.
You
Somebody
just
he knows gets wronged and he's got to go make it right.
Yeah.
Of course, you do have the extra twist because he's got like this secret government training and he's retired and all that, which of course they've got to explain where the guy gets his skills.
Yeah.
Either, oh, he's an ex-Navy SEAL or he's this or he's that. Well, this one was secret government agency.
Yeah, I mean, but think about it. Like there was a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s where people were just, oh, dude's a badass, and you're like, but how or why or what? I don't. It doesn't make a
Right.
lot of sense. Like, you know,
No, we do need it explained now. Like in the
yeah,
80s and 90s, we just kind of went with it. Like, okay, he's a sharpshooter and he can do all this. Okay, cool, we'll go with it.
yeah,
Now it's like, okay, where did he learn how to do that? So, like, I do like that now in newer movies they do say why. But like I feel like secret agency is kind of something that they do a lot in movies. Like,
yeah.
it's kind of the easy way to explain how somebody's got all this training.
Well, I mean, you'd have to have a movie explaining how he got those skills to then have this movie, and it's sort of like, well, we could just say he was a
Yeah, yeah.
retired, covert ops that no one's ever heard of. That
Yeah,
sort
no,
of thing.
like I said, I know it makes sense. For me, so Josh Hutcherson, who his character's named Derek, is essentially the bad guy. And
Mhm.
it took me a minute to kind of like wrap my head around this because like to me he's the kid from the Hunger Games. He's PETA. He's, the love interest of Katniss. Like I don't I think like I know I've seen him in other stuff, but I've never seen him play like the bad guy.
No, I don't think so.
So like it took me like honestly like I don't even know by the end of the movie if I like kind of wrapped my head around like he's the bad guy because I kept being like, no, he's nice. Why is he doing that? Come on, like it threw me.
You got sucked up into the
Yeah,
pretty boy face. You were like, pretty boy, he can do no wrong. See,
no,
that's
it's
where they
like
get you. That's where they get you.
yeah. I just kept thinking about all the other roles. I'm like, he's not supposed to be playing a bad guy.
Oh yeah.
So, but I do like the twist that they did, where it wasn't a kidnapping, it wasn't a dog dying like John Wick, which you love. Um,
I love John Wick.
because honestly, like this is something that happens to people every day, where something comes across an email, an alert, or whatever on your computer, your phone, or whatever electronic device saying your warranty or you're this or you're that, call this number, and it's a scam. So this is something that legit could happen to anybody. We know not
Well,
you because you're IT techie man.
and my acute paranoia for not giving anybody any information, but that's another
Right,
story.
right. And Felicia Rashad playing the role and being the victim of the scam works because, she is elderly. So I mean, unfortunately, this is something that, unfortunately elderly people are probably a higher victim of. So like the believability like that this whole like vigilante sequence and movie could happen in real life, like by putting that like internet scamming in it, I felt was a really good thing that they did. So I'm glad that they did that because like even when I was watching it, like I'm like saying, no, don't call that number. Like in my head, I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
See, the thing though is if she doesn't do it, then you don't have a movie.
I
So
know, but I'm just saying, like, I was already like drawn in saying, no, please don't don't let her get screwed over.
yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, like yeah, it does happen. There's numerous instances. In this circumstance, it's an extreme case, but I feel like they had to make it an extreme case because of the impact. Because if it wasn't, you wouldn't really have a movie. If it was like a couple $100, like most people get took for, maybe tops 1,000, then it would be like you'd question the validity
Yeah.
of it essentially. But because of how much it wasn't even just because of how much she got taken for, but she also had the charity that she
was the director of
sponsored.
like a charity for kids, and they
Yeah.
because she was this signatory or whatever, they got like 2 million from that charity, which like that just like kind of like pulls you in even more to like be like rooting for Jason Statham's character, because you're like, yeah, not only did they steal this nice old lady's money, but they stole these like kids' money for this charity. Like, yeah, go beat their ass.
Normally we do like a relationship sort of aspect to the movie. In this circumstance, we can't really do that because there's really nothing romantic or like we can say about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no like relationship life lessons in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there
Except
is one. Go ahead, you're gonna say it.
no, go ahead and say it, because I don't know what you were gonna say.
Oh, I was gonna say like the lesson you should learn is don't click on shit you don't know on the internet. Like,
Yeah,
don't just click on it. I don't care how good it looks. If someone's saying like, "Oh, it's busted," don't click on it. That's
yeah.
your life lessons. Don't do that.
Don't type in passwords when people have remote access to your stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, yeah, there really is no life lesson. I mean, obviously, like I said, they did a good job. I was sucked in the whole time. Also, like, I had to. So, Josh Hutcherson's character, we then find out that like the mom is kind of protecting him. And I was doing a double take the whole time when I was watching the mom, because I'm like, I know her from something. Like, what do I know her from? Like, and it drives me crazy when I see like characters like that, because I'm like, I know this actor, I know this actress, like, what do they do? So of course, like, I jumped online and she was in some Doctor Who movie shows. So like that makes me like the movie a little bit more, because I'm like, oh, she was in Doctor Who, which
Yeah.
I love. Her name is Gemma Redgrave. So I mean, they did like, I think, a really good casting job on this. And also I feel like, so I think we've talked about this in other movies, like when we were talking about like The Conjuring, stuff like that. Like, I don't like bloody gory.
Yeah.
And sometimes with action movies, it can get bloody gory, where like I am like, okay, close my eyes, shield my face, like I can't watch this. And I feel like the bloody gory was totally at a minimum.
Yeah. I mean, they showed people with fingers missing, and of course the guy gets stabbed in the face. But outside of that, it wasn't, like blood squirting from the neck and
Yeah.
crazy things of that nature. Now, yeah.
So if anybody does have that kind of like factor, like you don't like the bloody gore, you could still watch this and not just be like, okay, let me close my eyes. I don't want it. It didn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is a good point to bring up.
Yes. So, with that being said, how would you rate the movie overall?
So we're gonna do the 1 to 10.
Yeah, we can do 1 to 10.
Okay. I'd give it an 8.
So, pretty high.
Pretty high. As far as like action movies are concerned, I mean, like, I don't want to, like, you can't do a side to side comparison with like an action movie and like a romantic movie. Like, they're just totally different. But as far as like an action movie is concerned, I'd give this an 8. When it comes on streaming services, I'm totally okay with watching it again. And of course, I mean, like, I don't know what kind of training like Jason Statham got like when he first started, because he's like known as an action star. But
Yeah.
man, he can kick some movie villain butt, which is really cool to watch.
Is this your first Jason Statham action
No,
movie?
no.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, like, because I mean, I don't even know how many. I feel like all he's ever done is action movies. Like, I don't know a movie he wasn't an action star.
Snatch. and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Okay, which I haven't seen either one of those movies, so.
I swear we've watched Snatch together. If not, we're watching it tonight. I love Snatch. Snatch is such a great movie.
Oh, yawn. I think I may be getting tired. Oh.
Just to let you know, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, folks, and she's trying to pull that.
Okay, it's worth a shot. No, I'd give it an 8. What would you give it?
So as an action connoisseur, as I like to think of myself, I would give it a 7 overall. So the reason why, and if you're an action person, let me know in the comments below if you agree, if you've seen this or not. The villains were too easy to defeat. So as an action person, you sort of want that, like, sort of give and take, right? Even in John Wick, when he fought the end guy, John Wick still got hurt substantially, you know? Like, you could tell he might, you know, there was scenes where, like, oh, John might lose. In this instance, in this movie, I saw it, I was like, oh, Jason's never going to lose. Because they just hyped him up so much. Like, every other sentence was like, this guy can kill everybody no matter what. Like, nothing, hands down. Cool. But either way, he's still just a man. And he's older, and he was retired. He's not going to be this perfect specimen where he can just go in and just wipe the floor with whoever. Especially, like, you know, they had other mercenaries. I mean, it was just so, like, that's why I give it a 7. Like, action was cool, extremely cool fight scenes, cool techniques, explosions were on point, character was on point. Like, he wasn't trying to be more than what he was, or he wasn't trying to oversell it. He was just him. So I think it was a good solid 7.
And you know what's so funny though is, like, you say, like, you don't like that the villains were so easily killed.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like that because, like, I saw it more of a, like, we're in the world where people hide behind, like, their computer and the electronics and all that. Like, you know, the bad guys are hiding, and really, if they were faced with somebody in real life, face to face, they're going down.
Yeah, but I'm not
So,
talking about those folks. I'm talking about the mercenaries, those guys, and then they even had, like, uh SEAL team members in there, and Delta team members. And if you know anything about, like, the military and all that stuff, and those guys are cream of the crop. They're operators. I mean, they're designed to go in and handle shit. Like, that's their jobs. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, obviously he could wipe the floor with all the nerds. I say nerds loosely, but the con men and all that stuff. But once they started introducing the mercenaries and the other beekeeper, who I think that fight lasted maybe a minute and a half. You know, that's what I'm talking about.
I mean, I do admit, like, the other beekeeper, because, I mean, obviously, like I said, you know, Adam Clay, who's Jason Statham, is retired. So this secret agency, there's only one beekeeper. So the new beekeeper, you know, is basically told to sick him. I do think that I agree. Like, that scene was kind of because she was a little cuckoo. Like, she was a little overzealous. Like, there was she used too much firepower and all this, and still didn't win the fight. So it's kind of like one of those, like, okay, she obviously didn't get the same training.
Yeah, she didn't get the memo.
No. She was not meant to be a beekeeper. So I mean, like, I totally agree with that. Like, that was probably the one scene that I was like, really? What was the point in that one?
Yeah.
But, like, I guess we're calling them mercenaries. Like at the end, like you do
Yeah.
like I feel like there was like a decent, not like I said, there are other movies that have better, end scene action, good against evil scenes, but I thought it was pretty decent. And I don't want to give too much away, but like the guy is like boasting about like I've killed a beekeeper once and da 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 da. And so of course you think, okay, this might be like a pretty even fight. And they come to find out he's got a bionic leg or he's basically lost his leg or at least to like the knee down. But what I thought was kind of funny is like as soon as Jason Statham's character figured that out, he just kicked that prosthetic out from under and it's like, okay, he's got it. But I thought it was a decent fight. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was a solid fight overall. But at the same instance, though, like the fights that should have been like that at earlier didn't happen portray, and they waited till like the last 10-15 minutes to include that fight in, which was sort of like, yeah, I know it's the final fight, but at the same instance, like there's just it wasn't solid enough. To me it just wasn't solid enough.
So you would have been happier if like the other fights that he got into from like the other people, like the elite team that the bad guys come together, the SWAT team, all these other things, like was a little bit more evenly matched, you would have been like happier.
Not necessarily evenly matched because obviously the good guy is supposed to win, right? But if they would have shown him struggle a little bit more, had to be more technical, had to be more, fluid, and be more, essentially use more tactics. Essentially, I guess I can't really think of the word. That would have been 100% better than just having him go in there and then just wiping the floor with everybody. Like the fights that he did have, just they were too open. They were over too quick for it to be like, oh, he struggled. It was just boom, boom, boom. Move in, move out, disappear. Move in, move out, disappear. It's sort of like, what?
Yeah.
I know he's supposed to be this badass assassin fixer, but at the same instance, like even badass fixers still get shot. Even badass fixers still get a broken bone. Badass fixers still get, scars and things of that nature. It's still, they're still human. It's not like he's,
and he's not injured until that like final fight.
final fight, yeah.
Yeah. Now, one thing I did think was like actually kind of good, and just kind of shows like the intelligence that he has as far as like a beekeeper, because obviously he's knowing who he's about to fight, at least basic knowledge. I feel like in like the final fight scene environment, not the actual fight, but you've got mercenaries and you've also got Secret Service, and I feel like he kills the mercenaries. Like, I don't care what happens to you, I'm gonna shoot you, stab you, whatever. But the Secret Service, I feel like he just knocked them out. Kind of like, you know what? You're doing your job. I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm gonna knock you out just to get you out of the way, which I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, it's the moralistic compass, right?
Right.
So,
but yeah, I mean, I think like anybody, like, and even there's a scene where, the guy goes, I've got kids. And he's like, yeah, I know. You have 2 girls and a boy, or 2 boys and whatever it is. Like, okay, this man has done his homework. Like, he knows who should and shouldn't be wiped off the face of the earth in a way.
essentially, it's what every person fantasizes about, right? Someone slights you or does wrong, or you think they're the complete scum of the earth and deserve 2 to the head and 1 to the heart. They just, that's how they play it out.
I don't know if everybody fantasizes about that. I fantasize about being on a beach in Fiji with like my toes in the sand, but that's a different.
I'm saying if someone slights you, like if you hear a story about like an elderly person getting, all their monies took from some evil person, you're not like, I'm gonna think about a beach on Fiji. You're like, dude, that person deserves 2 in the head, 1 in the chest.
They deserve something to happen to them. I don't know if I go to that extreme because my brain doesn't go that way, but obviously that's the way your brain goes.
Dude, evil should not thrive. I feel like that's evil. If you're willing to take, like Jason, like the Beekeeper said, I'm going to just call him the Beekeeper because I feel like that's a better name. He said, they take advantage of the weakest of our society, and the elderly is probably the weakest because people are just like, whatever, you're old, who cares? So to me, 2 in the chest, 2 in the head, 1 in the chest.
Yeah. And I mean, there is something to be said for, people like, oh, let the law, like do its thing. So there is something to be said, like, sometimes the law doesn't always work in the favor of justice. Which I thought that was also kind of like an interesting thing that they kind of portray in the movie. It's like, okay, do you pick what's right, or do you pick what you're supposed to be doing? Because sometimes it's not the same thing. And I thought that was kind of a good thought process and a good way to like get people's minds kind of thinking a little bit of like, yes, he has every right to like go after these people and destroy them, but should he be doing it? And getting that final like, okay, we're gonna let him go because he did the just thing. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the movie. One thing I think is kind of interesting with a lot of action movies now is I feel like have the highest possibility of a sequel. And
They do.
I feel like this movie did leave an opening for a sequel.
Possibly. I feel like a good possibility.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the main character doesn't die. He's not blown up into a million pieces. So he could come back and serve justice, wherever the situation may be. So I guess one thing for our audience, if you guys are watching or listening, do you think this could be a sequel?
Put a comment below.
Yep.
Let us know if there should be a sequel.
The Beekeeper 2 coming in.
Or will be a sequel.
Yeah.
2026.
Yeah, we gotta give me time to write it, direct it, film it, all that.
Jason to, recuperate from any injuries he may have had or, things of that nature.
But yeah, that being said, let us know in the comments below. Is there going to be a sequel? And as always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
All right, guys, we will see you next time.
Adios.